Bloomberg analyst, Bitcoin ETF had more volume than 95% launched on Wall Street in the last year. This is only the beginning, and I want to give you a breakdown of what in the world's happening now that the Bitcoin ETFs are live. 11 of them are live. Vanguard is basically attempting to speed run the ruining of a great grand business. Vanguard making stupid decisions, but my favorite thing is how much the Karens within the government, and I'm really talking about Elizabeth Warren, are currently losing their mind. This is what you need to know. Bitcoin ETFs stir optimism, ambivalence, and dread among crypto's staunchest supporters. That's a lot of feelings. They make the asset class, quote unquote, less of a scary concept to mainstream audiences. Bitcoin advocate Jameson Lopp said, really, this is a bit more exciting right here, is what Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, dude, literally one of the biggest asset man, trillions of dollars. This is what he has to say about Bitcoin. I argue it's pretty compelling.
I believe it goes up if the world is more frightened, if people have fearful of geopolitical risk, they're fearful of their own risk. It's no different than what gold represented over thousands of years. It is a asset class that protects you.
Right.
And unlike gold, where we manufacture new gold, we're almost at the ceiling of the amount of Bitcoin that we created.
When you hear somebody like Cathie Wood,
yes,
who was on our broadcast yesterday, say that her base case is that this turns into a $600,000 a Bitcoin valuation. Base case.
Gold, when it got its spot ETF,
million
8x,
plus,
2 trillion to 16
in a super
trillion.
optimistic case. Are you anywhere in her realm?
I haven't thought about it. To me, that what we are trying to do is offer an instrument that can store wealth. I think if it gets that even close to that high, gold will represent even a bigger value. And let's be clear, if you think of digital gold, there's going to be a reference point between gold and Bitcoin.
That's fair. So right there, just this morning, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, powerful, an OG of Wall Street, a dude who is arguably close to the epicenter of global finance, talking about, hey, I don't really see Bitcoin as a currency, but I see it as a store of value. He's calling it digital gold because it has a lot of similar properties as actual gold, a store of value. And he made quite a few references of it being a safe haven asset when there's geopolitical concern, when there's currency concern, fiat currency concern, when there's just generic concern and people want a store of value. People historically turn to gold, and I have to agree with him. I think in the future, they're going to turn to both. I'm not a person who's hating on gold. I'm just saying, oh, okay, I understand gold itself, pros and cons, and also digital gold, aka Bitcoin, pros and cons, and I think they both have a spot in the future. Also, obviously referenced there was Cathie Wood. So just yesterday, Cathie Wood sees Bitcoin price reaching 1.5 million by 2030 after ETF approval. Obviously, this is her optimistic bull case. Her base case is 600,000, just to give you both of the numbers. Also, a little bit of breaking news about her. She is the Wall Street legend with ARK Invest, and she was talking about herself of how 25% of her own personal finance, her own personal net worth, is actually directly tied to Bitcoin. So she's another person who's orange pilled, but also putting her money where her mouth is. Now, on the opposite side of this, we have Vanguard. Vanguard, obviously a classic, well-known Wall Street institution, arguably doing the dumbest thing it's ever done in multiple decades. Breaking. Bank of America-owned Merrill Lynch joins Vanguard in denying customers access to spot Bitcoin ETFs. So Bank of America-owned Merrill Lynch and Vanguard. These are now two companies who are saying, hey, you might be customers with us, but we actually don't want you to be able to get these ETFs because it doesn't align with their corporate vision or some yada, 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 BS, PR spin, stupid stuff. Now, if you really think about it, you're going to realize how incredibly hypocritical it is, because before this, obviously, Bitcoin future ETFs, which they allowed access to, and also they allowed access to MicroStrategy, which was tantamount to already being a Bitcoin ETF. So they were fine with doing that and collecting their fees there, but now they're taking some sort of weird stance. And obviously, this might be a little bit tinfoil hatty. I might be a little kooky and a little bit crazy on this particular one, but I think it's just the ties to the government, because some people of the government are on the right side of history here and they understand what's going on. But some of my favorite ones are the people who are on the wrong side, and now they're having a very, very public meltdown being led by this Karen. The SEC Gov is wrong on the law and wrong on the policy with respect to the Bitcoin ETF decision, according to Pocahontas herself. If the SEC is going to let crypto burrow even deeper into our financial system, then it's more urgent than ever that crypto follow basic anti-money laundering rules. She's wrong on this. She's been wrong on a lot of things, and it's interesting because she always takes on somewhat of this populist thing of like, I'm fighting for the little guy, I'm fighting against corruption in Wall Street. And now she's literally doing the exact opposite, a thing that could be financially freeing to many people she's particularly against. And she always wraps it up in this superficial argument of like, no, look how much corruption and immoral, nefarious acts are being perpetrated by crypto, when in reality, the facts tell a little bit of a different story. Money laundered since 2017 using USD and then also relative to Bitcoin. Well, you can see we're all the way up here for USD. And Bitcoin is all the way down here. So it's one of these things that it's interesting to just shout something out of like, oh, Bitcoin's so bad, crypto's so bad. It helps employ nefarious acts throughout the world to perpetrate immoral, criminal behavior. But then is one of those funny things that when you actually look into the facts, oh no, actually, if that was your big argument of we need to stop like paying for crime, it's actually the US dollar that's clearly the dominant one to the tune of 99%. Just this morning, Jack Mallers, he's OG crypto. He's an entrepreneur within this space. I think he actually brings up a really interesting commentary of his own mental framework of why he likes Bitcoin. And actually, as you're about to hear in this interview, he is exclusively in Bitcoin. He no longer holds a single US dollar. Obviously, a very informed individual.
Because at the moment, we've seen the validity of it as an asset, as a store of value, but not as a currency here in the United States.
Kind of what Larry Fink was talking about.
I'm not, to be honest, guys, I'm not sure it totally matters. So for example, I don't own any dollars anymore. I'm sick of them. You know, I think the real risk is owning dollars because all they do is go down. And traditionally, the game was, well, shoot, what do I own?
In a forever
the government's going to keep printing
system.
currency. They're in so
Credit
much debt.
system.
Do I try and own a house? Do I try and own an index of stocks? Do I try and find out what Jeff Bezos is up to now that he's not the CEO of Amazon? And Bitcoin is the most accessible, most simple, best expression of this problem that, you know, Ed, how many people in the world have to deal with fiat debasement? Give me a number. What do you think?
All of them.
You answer that, Jack.
8 billion, all of us.
Yeah.
Everybody is subject to a fiat currency that's devaluing, and everyone has access to this thing. And so if you want to use it for payments, if you want to store it, so for example, I live on credit cards. The US banking system gives me a 30-day revolving door of credit where I could spend dollars without needing to own those pieces of trash. And so I just sit in Bitcoin all day. I spend on credit. And so to me, I don't know. Anyway, does that answer your question? I think
Jack,
it doesn't totally matter.
Jack, we have 5 seconds. Where does Bitcoin peak in 2024?
I think we see new highs this year, and I think this thing lands between 250K to $1 million, around the $500,000 range at some point in 25. I think there's a lot of money.
Love to hear it. Will it happen? I don't know. Obviously, your guess is as good as mine on this, but a lot of optimism right now. A lot of optimism, and I think it's fairly warranted. Right now, when you learn about monetary policy, when you learn about our forever expanding credit system, when you learn about inflation, when you learn about the perpetual devaluation of not just the USD, but all fiat currencies, I think people are starting to wake up that, oh, hey, maybe, just maybe, there's something that we could do to bring financial power back into our own lives. And in my humble opinion, that's exactly what Bitcoin represents. And that's what a lot of the interesting, I guess, budding technological aspects surrounding the entire crypto industry represents. So just wanted to share this, basically the update of like the week in review as we're heading into the first weekend post the spot Bitcoin ETF approval. Looks like not necessarily in the short term because short-term predictions are basically 50-50, but in the medium to the long term, things are looking pretty good right about now.